Oh, shit. Darn it. I gotta start the video over now. Oh, man. I'm sorry I'm laughing at my... And then the fact that the first word I said was a swear word. That's also good. Dang it. Oh, man. I should be good on the replay, I'm sure. Oh. Well, it's Tuesday, and I'm on my way to work. I'm going to tune a car, because you can't tune a fish. And I got way too many clothes on right now. Yeah, right on, Curtis, welcome. Yeah, well, my first word was a swear. Well, my second word, technically, because the first one was preceded by O. Oh, yeah, well, it's ruined now, right? I said, oh, shit. And obviously, I've been trying to keep the swearing down on the videos because it makes the YouTube algorithms upset. Anyways, so it's Tuesday. It's going to be pixelated a little bit as I travel to work. In the first few sections here, the signal's not super great, but it does get better as I get closer to the highway. Right now, it's a lesson on people can't effing drive. So I want to talk about something that absolutely triggered me. And it's silly that it did, but I think the reason it triggered me is because there's so much misinformation on the internet, and there's so many more put everybody into a panic. Oh my God, I'm doing it wrong, kind of stuff, you know. And the reason it pisses me off so much is because in this case it affected one of my students to the point where he's like, "Oh, I think this guy's right." And I'm like, "The dude's a fucking idiot. Like, he's not right. Don't." But it pissed me off because it's so grotesquely wrong, but yet worded in a way that easily tricks people into thinking that they're doing things wrong. That just pisses me off. And there's so much of that on the internet, you know. This guy just puts a few fancy words in here, writes sentences a certain way, and bam, everyone's like, "Oh my God." Fuel pressure / injector post, maybe, yeah. If that's what you're talking about, it is fuel pressure and injectors for sure. And then this moron implies that Injector Dynamics has been doing it wrong and everything else. And it's grotesquely and fundamentally completely inaccurate what this guy said, and shows a clear lack of understanding of what gauge pressure is and absolute pressure. And that's like day one of class stuff. Like, gauge versus absolute is like, you show up to class, they give you the syllabus, they tell you the class days and hours, the instructor gives you your contact information, they go over the class rules, and then like, all right, you can go for that. But before you do, real quick, gauge versus absolute, stupid shit, all right, go ahead, and you leave. Like, it's the simplest shit, and this guy has absolutely no fathom the understanding of what it actually is, because he allows it to completely corrupt his mind and write this post that is so misleading and retarded that I'm just fucking blown away that anybody would be like, "Oh wow, that guy's right." No, the dude's not right. It's so wrong. I on so many levels that it absolutely triggered me to the point where I was like, I got to be nice to the student guide, because, you know, the post was well-ish written enough that I could see why somebody would be fooled by it. But that said, it's absolutely asinine. So I'm going to give you just a brief synopsis of what this post is that this guy makes. And he states that the data from Injector Dynamics isn't correct because they don't provide you with the barometric pressure that the injectors were tested at. And since he lives at a higher elevation, he has to set his fuel pressure differently to compensate for the difference between what Injector Dynamics saw at their barrel pressure versus where he lives. And so every time I say that, part of my brain just lights on fire, and luckily there's enough blood and surrounding matter around it to put the fire out. Yes, it's a beautiful day today. Thank you for getting me off topic here. It's very clear. It's fucking gorgeous. It's a little cold. It's gone up to 45 now, but this morning it was 31, and it was 31. The wind chill said it was 21, is how bad it was. So, yeah, it's a beautiful day if you don't mind the cold. But the air's crisp and feels nice and everything else. So, anyways, James, back to what I was talking about. A fuel pressure regulator does not operate on absolute pressure. A fuel pressure gauge does not operate on absolute pressure. And a boost gauge does not operate on absolute pressure. All of those things operate on what is called gauge pressure. And gauge pressure is simply the difference in pressure between some reference and the parameter that it's measuring. Now, gauge pressure typically is referenced off of the atmosphere. So that being said, you can see how the dude be really confused. Well, my atmosphere is less, so therefore my pressure is less. But no, it's not. Okay? Because you're referencing it from where you currently are. So in the case of the fuel pressure regulator, it references pressure based off of the signal, right? You apply a reference to the top, and it does a pressure difference between the reference on top and the fuel inside, right? That's what it does. So whatever you put into the top, it's going to give you whatever you set your reference pressure at. So if it's a fuel injector system, typically it's 43.5 psi. Why 43.5? Well, that's 300 kPa, and everyone uses advanced units, not caveman units like the US. So if I take my reference to atmosphere, okay, and I have a fuel pressure gauge on the front of my regulator, the gauge's reference is also atmosphere. So then when I set my fuel pressure, I have set a difference between the chamber in the reference part of the regulator and the fuel line. That's it. That's as simple as it fucking is. Then you take your little hose from the manifold and you go boop into the top of the regulator, and now you have a reference signal that is the manifold pressure, and it's still 43.5 psi difference between the two of them. Holy shit. It's weird. Like, I can't believe that millions of people have been actually doing it right the entire time and they didn't realize it. This guy, for some reason, thinks that he figured out some magic secret sauce that determined that everyone in the world has been setting fuel pressure wrong because they're not taking into account their elevation. Yeah, you fucking moron. Now, that being said, what is the reference of injector dynamics test bench? It's atmosphere. But so what? That's the pressure that's in the top of the fuel pressure regulator. That's what's referencing 43.5 psi, or whatever pressure they set it to when they're doing their testing. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter how high they are. It's still a difference in pressure. Differential pressure is difference between 2 points. Right? That's what we're doing. The pressure. Now, you could improperly think in your head and go, okay, well, the manifold is at 10 psi. My fuel pressure is at 40 psi. So I have a difference of 30 psi. Maybe. Is your 10 psi referenced from the atmosphere? Or is your 10 psi same because you went, well, absolute pressure of, 24, knowing that sea level is 14, whatever. Now I'm saying it's 10, right? Like, you can screw yourself up with that if you compare absolute pressure to a gauge pressure. You can absolutely screw yourself up. That's why you don't do that. That's why you have a mechanical gauge on there. That's gauge pressure. You have your reference line off of the thing, so its reference is also. And then yes, like that's it. It's done. It's 43.5 to the signal. It's not a complex method. It isn't anything crazy. It's not some sort of freaking secret sauce this guy figured out. It is none of those things, other than he has no understanding of what gauge, differential, and absolute pressures are. That's it. So if you read that dumb post, don't get your panties in the bunch thinking that you're all screwed up. Now, if you have fueling issues and you think they're fuel pressure related, it might be. You might have a crappy gauge. You might have set your pressure using absolute pressure on your manifold to a gauge pressure on your fuel. You could have done that, and you could have done that and screwed it up, and therefore you would have done it wrong because that's not the procedure for setting fuel pressure. But that's just you goofing it up. Or you have a problem. Your fuel pressure is not accurate. Your gauge is not accurate. Or you're in the low pulse region and no one's informed you that the injector dynamics low pulse values are overall starting point, because there's still a few percent that the injectors will fluctuate from those values. And there's a pretty large fluctuation. Injector Dynamics has a post years and years ago where they show how these injectors, holy crap, missed my exit. I got a package I'm supposed to take to the post office thing here, and I missed my exit, and now I'm also sitting in traffic when I could have took the exit and missed the traffic. Boop. Anyways, ID made a post a handful of years ago that showed just how much the injectors flow. I said that wrong. That shows the magnitude of difference of all the injectors and how they flow in the low pulse region. When they get them straight from Bosch, after they've been assembled with their parts and then Bosch parts and all that stuff, they get them all fully assembled from Bosch, and they show up and they test them all. They have like this plus or minus 8% at under 2 milliseconds. Or maybe it was at 2 milliseconds. And less than that is even greater. I think it was up to 20%. Now, that being said, some of those injectors are not passed, right? They don't let them go out. But there's a range that they show up, 5% or 10% or whatever it is, that they're allowed to deviate from the accepted low pulse width data. And then they take all the injectors that have that same value and put them in a bunch. These guys all flow exactly the same. They're 4% higher than what they, than our baseline, but that's tunable, right? Because they're all the same. So you put your data in, you get really close, things aren't quite right. You know what? It seems like there's just a little too much fuel right here, and it doesn't seem to come off the VE map correctly. My VE value now in this one square is like 35%, and you're like, that's not possible. The engine can't have 35% VE. Like, it wouldn't even run right here. So why is that? Well, probably the low pulse width data needs to be adjusted slightly. So you go to that spot, you bump it down, and lo and behold, your fueling's fine. Like, wow, this is really a cluster up here. Come on, dude. Yep, you're welcome. Nobody gives truck drivers any fucking respect. Lets them in or anything. Well, I do. And I just did. People behind me are all pissed off. People are scattering. They're like, oh my God, this guy here is trying to sneak. This guy's being a dick behind me. I don't know what this dude's problem is. The guy behind me's not letting anybody in. Like, don't you know how to drive, buddy? Like, what a dick. That's all right. I'll just get in front of the truck. I cut the truck off because this guy's a prick behind me. There's a lesson on the road. When the lane ends up ahead, don't merge half a mile back. For some reason, people think that that's the courteous thing to do. Don't merge half a mile back. That's traffic up worse. You're supposed to merge at the merge. Zipper in at the merge. And people get mad when someone goes to the end of the line where the zipper is and then try and cut it. That person is actually right. You're wrong. That person is supposed to merge at the merge. Where the lane ends, that's where it's supposed to occur. You utilize both lanes. You have a long row, 2 lines of traffic. They zipper at one point. That takes up less space behind you, fucks up traffic less behind. It gets everything closer where it's supposed to be. That's the proper way of doing it. That person's not an asshole. You're just an idiot. Plain and simple. Like, that's how you're supposed to merge. You go to the end, then you come together. You don't do it half mile back and get pissed because some guy went by you on the right. The guy that by you on the right is correct, and you're wrong. People have literally tried ramming me into a wall when I'm in my Highlander with my kids. Yeah, well, are you zippering or not zippering? Obviously, zippering needs to happen correctly, and all parties involved need to understand what the hell is supposed to happen. Can I take this exit? Is this exit still closed? Because I want this one too then. This exit closed? It's not closed. Okay, good. I want this exit. Anyways. Aha, see? I'm the idiot that time. Let the truck in, fuck these other people. What is going on down there? That looks like a mess. They say it's construction, but looks like it's construction around a previous destruction or something. They're just fixing a post, a pole thing or something. All right. Anyways, so if you have to adjust your injector data to get your injectors to flow right, that's okay. That's totally acceptable. It's expected. There's only so. Why did they redo this whole intersection only to have it exactly the same? They closed this intersection for like 2 weeks to redo it, and they had previously had a stoplight here for like a test run, and then it's all put back together exactly the same. Okay. Whatever. New road though. Pavement's smooth. I think this is where I get really choppy for everybody coming through this area right here. It gets really nasty. So I apologize if it gets pixelated here for a few minutes. Anyways, let me check the comments. That's it. That's it. No one's like anything else to say. Like, Dom, you're a dick. Fuel pressure is not that simple. Nothing. All right. Cool. Anyway, so I'm on my way down to the shop to tune Matt's BMW. I'm hoping he has all the stuff in the car so that we're not burning through extra licenses and that kind of thing. I don't think I'll be streaming that because that is very labor intensive and takes a lot of time, and BMW has a bajillion tables, and unfortunately the people who are writing the software for those don't do a very good job, honestly. The division of tables and where they got them and how they have them labeled and identified, not very good. So there's a lot of guessing, honestly, with these cars when you do that. It does, and I use them. Did you hear? Use them all the time. Supposedly there's leaks saying that the 2022 STI is going to have 395 horsepower. Good. I know that some of the students in my channel, or at least prior ones, mentioned that they were super master techs and they were given training saying that the car was going to be nearly 400 horsepower. So 395 would definitely go along with nearly 400 horsepower. And honestly, it's about damn time. They're getting left behind by everybody. Everybody's leaving them behind. Like 305, really? I mean, like, we're talking Camry power levels with that. It just isn't. It isn't. And for the price tag, God, I would never purchase the new STIs from like 15 and up, solely because they are so incredibly expensive and so underpowered. It's so much money for no horsepowers. Like, it's just so bad. So the fact that they got 395, now we're talking. Now that's a good start on it. Now, is that a freaking like already tweaked out FA24 that's got no room left, and Subaru's like, we just need to make it half power for a little while because we got to get our sales up or something, you know? Or are they panicking because Nissan Z is gonna be 400 horse twin turbo 6-cylinder? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Is this engine going to be capable of high power beyond that? Oh my God, you got to see this. This is great. This is, I think it's more, right? This truck here looks like it's a half ton with a trailer. Look at this shit. Oh, wait, is he gonna bottom out? Oh, his tires look flat. His rear tires look flat. I don't know if you saw that. Oh my God. Oh, that's good. Luckily for me, I have to go this way. How not to tow. Yeah, no shit. I wonder if the guy at the Jeep's with him. Like, he's just his fucking pilot car. I mean, that thing is on the ground. Okay, they're not flat, but they're definitely low, that's for sure. Yep. Yeah, so Jeep's with this guy. They both got Idaho plates. Jeep's following him slowly. There's no reason for this many Idaho people being in Washington going the exact same way, so they must be together. That's pretty funny. I have Idaho plates, but, you know, I was going a different way. Yeah. Definitely together. This is fucking awesome. At least he's got a spotter. Let him know, like, your shit is way too heavy. Holy crap. Oh boy. That's funny. All right. So Ash, if you're watching this, hopefully you got an explanation that's better than the one I said in chat where I was angry about it. Hopefully you understand why I got angry at that dude's post, because it's just so damn bad. So bad. It's so bad I said that it should be the Facebook Mechanics channel, which is the channel we have that has just the dumbest posts or, you know, work. You see some really, really bad work done on Facebook. Hey guys, look, I did it myself. And you're like, ooh, you broke it yourself. Damn, you know, that kind of stuff. Oh, that color's clean. I think. Here, girl, remember that one. Oh, I can't put that here. It is a JDM haven here right now. It's like we got Pulsar GTIR. We got Skylines. We got all kinds of stuff here. I say we, but Tier 1's got. Yep, unclear the mud. Thank you, car. I appreciate it. You're too close! You're too close! Watch out! You're too close! Ah! So that's Matt's car. That's what I'll be tuning. It's got pure turbo on it. I don't recall if it was 8 or 600. It's got TU pump on it, which is basically the fuel pump from the Supra. Exhaust and intake and that kind of stuff on it. So should do okay. I don't recall if it's an X or not. If it is an X, we're gonna have a problem. I'm gonna have to put it in rear-wheel drive mode, which means I have to use X-Delete, which is another program. But it's Android based, so I might need to get a tablet to do that. Should have brought the wife's tablet. Fuck. Or my other phone. I have X-Delete on my other phone. Should have brought that too. I might have screwed up. I think one of these guys has a tablet here that I can borrow. And then do a rear-wheel drive. And then pray that I can get the thing tied down tight enough that this dyno will hold it down enough to get grip. Unfortunately, this dyno is not good over 400 wheel torque on an axle, on a single axle. On a Subaru, no big deal, right? Because you got 2 axles, and you're not making 800 pounds of torque on 99% of the Subaru, so that just ain't happening. Not a big deal. This one, though, you know, it's going to be a BMW B58 with the pure turbo. It's going to make an easy 400 to 500 pounds of torque to the wheel, so I could very well have traction issues very quickly. Questions? They can improve the oiling capacity and cooling, then get that horsepower. Also, the piston rotation, like you mentioned before. Well, that being said, the FA already has a near perfect cooling system, so that's not even a concern. They designed that perfectly before. Oiling capability. The oiling on the FA is also really good. Spinning bearings and FAs isn't very common. It's really only happens when people beat the shit out of the bearings by having too much knock or too much torque or whatever. So I don't think that's going to be an issue either. Usually only 85 guys at that. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. I think that's fine. They can't really fix the rod ratio unless they shorten the stroke a lot and put a big bore on it. But then it won't be a 2.4 liter. It's going to be something smaller like a 2.2 or a 2.3. And honestly, I'm okay with that. If they shrink the bore up too, that's also good. Either way, if they fix that rod ratio, they can do a lot of stuff with it. Or they can make it worse and just make the power sooner and lower the rev limit. You know, if they punch the bore out a lot, add a bunch of stroke to it, and then just put a rev limiter that's like 5,700, I think a 5,700 RPM rev limiter, they'd be fine. See the air to water manifold ETS making? No, I have not seen that. The B58 already comes with an air to water in the intake manifold, and it works all the way to like 800 to 1,000 horsepower. So if they're building it for just the huge horsepower guys, and that's totally cool. But it's a really good one in the B58 already. You don't need much. Now, again, if they're trying to do some, the teens for horsepower, then sure, I can see that being definitely beneficial. And that'd be cool. And it's really cool that it's 6 cylinders on a single bank. So resonance tuning is easy. Balance is relatively easy. It's an easy thing to do. It's not a hard manifold to make. So you just make a bigger plenum, and then to target the high horsepower guys, shorter, fatter runners, put some plenum volume in front of the runners, then put the intercooler, and then put a small plenum with throttle body feeding it. That's not a hard task at all. Yeah, I could do that in my sleep. And then send it to China and have them cast it for me. Like, do whatever. Have someone in the U.S. cast it, and it's literally 10 times as expensive. I got quotes back for the air water intercooler and tanks being cast in China, and it's a tenth of the price. Obviously, with shipping, it's going to add to it, but it's going to be, an eighth or a sixth of the price. And that's a bummer because I really wanted to keep all my manufacturing local, but I can't make it with a local foundry because they want so much money that I can never sell the product. Just the intercooler alone, my cost on the intercooler alone would be like $1,300. Just my cost on the intercooler piece. That's it. And then you still got to have the heat exchangers and the hoses and the pumps and the tanks and all that stuff. And then I still have to make money on it. Otherwise, what's the point in selling it? Spend all my labor and weeks and weeks and weeks of doing this shit, and then production cost and the tooling. The tooling's $10,000 and all that stuff to never be able to sell it. That doesn't make sense. So there has to be margin on it, and it has to be good and functional. So unfortunately, if I'm going to make that air water intercooler, if I'm going to follow through with it, I have to do it in China. So I'm not sure if I want to do it or not. I'm really kind of in the air. The shitty thing with dealing with China is shipping. For some reason, they think that you should do the shipping. And I don't understand. I know I'm American, and that's different, but they expect the person receiving the goods to get the shipping lined up. Like, where do I send this guy? Yeah, dude, just it's in China. Just go pick it up. I mean, everything's in the Shenzhen province, right? That's where all the manufacturing is anyway. So I guess they all know to go there and then just run around looking for shit. I don't know. It's just weird. Because like, oh yeah, okay, now it's your job to get shipping. Well, did you give me an address? Do I know the size of the parcels? The weight? Like, nothing. They don't give you, like, oh, here you go. Okay, you get shipping. It's ready. So I'm like, no, you guys can ship it to me. Well, we don't have anybody for that. Well, I don't need it then. It's weird. It's a weird way of doing things. I don't like it. Just to get them from them to the ports, that's a lot of fucking money. That's a lot of money. And not just that, but
Nothing's coming in from the ports right now. So I'm telling them, you got to send this express. They're like, oh no, we'll send it via sea. Well, have you seen the ocean outside San Francisco right now in LA? Nothing's coming in. There's hundreds of ships parked off the coast. Great. So I just give them $5,000 for all this product that's just going to sit there that I'm never going to get in my hands? No, not doing that shit. So we'll send it via sea. No, not right now. There's nothing getting in. There's no sea shipping to be had right now. That's just not fucking happening. So, and I don't know why they don't know that already. It's awful sus, if you ask me. It's awful sus. Yeah, and I'm not paying someone $1,000 a month to just move shit from the factory to the port. That ain't happening. So, with that being said, like I said, I don't know if I'm gonna do it. We're gonna do sheet tanks, sheet metal, well, cast, sheet aluminum, end tanks for the prototype to test it, see how well it works. We're gonna do that. I'm gonna do it on my car, and if it performs super duper good, and I'm able to get it down to a low enough spot where I can sell it, then I'll sell it. If not, I have a really sweet one-off air water intercooler kit on my car. But until manufacturing costs come down, no one's going to buy that shit. No one's going to buy a $2,200 intercooler, even if it is better than everything else on the market. No one's buying that shit. I say no, but I mean a significant portion of the population that owns Subarus is not going to buy that. And that won't work, Obviously, a big-ass intercooler isn't going to be the next cooling mod, right? I'm not going to sell 10,000 cooling mods a year. That isn't going to happen. I mean, 10,000 intercoolers a year. That's not going to happen. I totally get that. But I got to sell enough intercoolers to justify making them. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm a little frustrated. I'm a little down in the dumps about it. But we will see what happens here in the near future with that. What else we talked about? Is there any way to verify the metal is up to standard? Yeah, I don't know. I know that I got a lot of emails from a lot of different companies, but there's one company that I know of that does a good job, and I've seen their products, and they do a good job, and so I only contacted them. But when you do that through Alibaba, then you automatically get spammed by every other company that does really shitty work. I only gave the people that I wanted to give my business to the drawing and contacting. But I got spammed by guys. This one dude was emailing me 4 times a day, and finally I just blocked him. I asked him what the hell his problem was. Why do you email me 4 times a day? Do you think you're gonna bully me into sending you my drawings so you can either A, copy them and sell them on the black market, or not black market, but on Alibaba unnamed, right? Or give me a quote for fuck you. Just leave me alone. Hey, send me the step file. Send me the step file. Send me the step file. Who are you? Stop emailing me 4 times a day. So you get a lot of that. A lot of very pushy guys out there in China trying to get that business. But those are the last guys I want to do business with, right? If you're that pushy, then I'm gonna help you. Let me help you with network security so you don't get hacked by China for your CAD files. Yeah, right. Make it out of composite. I thought about that, but composites, man, that is very time and labor intensive. I don't see that being cheaper. I mean, if it was cheaper, wouldn't every intercooler be made out of carbon fiber or something composite? But it ain't. I could try doing plastic end tanks. I'd have to make a flange that welds onto the intercooler core and then make plastic end tanks. But even though plastic end tanks are awesome, they don't heat soak. You can have good perfect flow distribution. You can reinforce it however you want. It's easy to clean. It's chemical resistant and all that stuff. Even though plastic end tanks are awesome, people are gonna be like, "Why don't I buy a plastic intercooler? I need one made out of metal because metal's always better." And that's just the ignorance of the industry. Some people are going to want to, oh man, it's a sweet intercooler. Too bad he made that out of plastic. Like I can see the threads now. Like, oh man, I'd really buy one, but it's made out of plastic, you know? So that would absolutely happen, and you all know it would. So that's not going to happen, even though it's better. Well, it's going to blow when I hit 30 pounds of boost. No, it's not. No, it's not. Anyways, all right. So I already covered why I was triggered about the fuel pressure thing. If you didn't catch that in the replay, please. I gave you a little more update on the air water, how that's going. We can talk about the new STI. Hopefully that's fucking cool. Too bad it looks like ugly as shit. Well, the WX is ugly as shit. Hopefully the STI looks better. But 395, now we're talking. That's actually something that should have happened a long time ago. The FA is a pretty decent motor in some ways. Hopefully this FA 20 whatever that they put in the STI is going to be badass. Yeah, pre-preg is still, it still exists, but you still got to put it. So I used to do composites a long time ago. You still have to have a mold, and with the pre-preg, you have to lay it up in, you know, the right, you know, you got to layer it correctly, not have the seams in the same spot, you know, change the directions, all that stuff, tab corners or seams come together where there's edges and stuff to prevent tearing, all that stuff. And then you got to vacuum bag it, and then you got to bake it, you know, 350 degrees for 6 hours or whatever it is for whatever you're pre-preg with. So it's it still takes time, you know, and it ain't cheap. I used to work at Unitech Composites, and that's what we did there, a lot of stuff. So I don't know if they do private shit. I should contact them. Maybe I could make something cool happen. Do Kevlar instead of carbon fiber, just to be like to the guys that all want carbon fiber, or just do like a polyester with a Kevlar in between the layers, do a poly, Kevlar, poly, and then seal that up, something like that. Anyways, I don't know. I'll keep thinking about it, trying to find a way to make it right. I just, you know, it needs to be good. It needs to be good. Otherwise, I'm wasting my time. So, thanks again. If the BMW tuning starts going well and things are flowing like they should be, then I might pop the stream up again and show you guys what's going on with the car. But right now, I foresee it being a pain in the ass because it's a BMW and they're just pains in the asses. So, we'll see what happens. Other than that, have yourselves a great day. Kevin, if you're watching this, I have a package in my trunk. Because I insured it for so much freaking money, I have to go to the UPS distribution center. I can't go to a UPS store, so it has to go to them, and it's just a big freaking hassle. Unless I catch the driver here today, I might believe the driver if he hasn't already showed up and give it to him, that kind of thing. So anyways, thanks again, guys, and thanks for the ideas and recommendations. I would love to 3D print like a direct to metal laser sintering process. That'd be sweet, only that takes a long time. It would take forever to print 100 intercooler end tanks. I would need my own machine because the machine time is going to be 100 something bucks an hour as it is, and or something like that, and they're going to just rate me over the coals with that. If I had my own machine, absolutely, I'd print so much stuff. We'd have it printed out of stainless or something. I don't know if you can do aluminum on that. Buddy here? Buddy's here. I gotta go. Have a good one, guys. I appreciate it. Have a good day. I'll see you around.